you're your own boss in this situation. But when you're accountable to anyone, you just maybe take your foot off the gas, as you would say. But having someone there to guide you, to be accountable to, just pushes you forward.
So Josh is in the middle of rebranding his school. He came up with a really nice logo. I was going to talk to Josh. When I did that logo that was drawn on the wall of my school in Florida, Ed Parker actually came down. Ed Parker Jr., he stayed at my school and he painted those. Took him like 2 weeks to paint those. That wasn't our logo that we had on the uniform and everything. That was just like a stylized version of our logo. Our logo was a gorilla, but it would look more just like a drawing of a muscular gorilla, similar to your Viking. And then he did it stylized on the wall. Same gorilla, same animal, but not the exact same logo.
Yeah, we just have inside our logo is, the logo itself is the Big Ole shield, which is from here in Alexandria. And then in the L of Alexandria is the Big Ole, kind of a silhouette of Ole. So that's because Big Ole is so iconic in our community that we wanted to tie in with the community. And when you were talking about that culture, that trying to bring people together, I took that idea of Big Ole and kind of grew it and ran with it and made it more stylized. So it's just that driving image moving forward. So I was really happy with it.
Yeah, I thought you picked out a real good one. Yeah, I'm kind of tired of all these new schools that are doing just like kind of like I call them like fluffy names and fluffy logos. I thought that was kind of not old school, but it had kind of an old school flair to it because it's represented some type of Viking animal. So it was very, very cool.
Expression.
I liked it because he wasn't looking directly at you, so he was intense, but he's not like intense at you. Yep. He's like intense off to the side, and he's got this motion that looks like it's this come follow me motion that says, come with me, I'm going to take you to success and greatness. And so that's why I like that.
Yeah, the only thing we did different with, we put like MMA gloves on our gorilla. So we had the gorilla. Our gorilla was our mascot, and he had MMA gloves. And then on his arm was tattooed the logo of our school. So
that's cool. I think I've seen that picture where Mr. Freira's teaching his elements form. I think that's in the background. It caught my eye.
It wasn't that gorilla. He was never at that school.
Oh, right.
This is the school I had in Boca. But we just wanted some, like all our college sports and even our professional sports, most of them have some type of animal, an eagle or a bear, some type of animal for a logo. So I wanted the same thing with that for our martial arts school. I have a friend in Pennsylvania. He's got a shark. So he's got a shark, and the shark for his fins has boxing gloves, and that's his logo. I've got another friend who does a shark in Utah. It's just kind of neat to have that type of image instead of just a regular karate signs and things like that. So,
well, our local animal, you could call it, is that. Do you know what a magpie is? It's like a little black and white bird. It's not very aggressive, but it's like our local football team. It's a little magpie. I could get something cool with that. Maybe I'll have a look at that.
Yeah. So I don't know if you can see this, Ricky, but this is what we took our logo, our Alexandria Martial Arts logo, and we added a Viking kind of stylized to it to make it really, aggressive and like not aggressive, but intensely moving forward.
Oh, that's great. Kids will love it though, especially teenagers. They'll want that branded on the bags or whatnot. And, yeah.
See, in Ricky's school in England, it's called Tempest, which is what, fierce storm?
Yeah, violent storm. Yeah.
Yeah. So, very cool. Let me just share my screen for a second since I got everyone's attention today. I was reading something over the last couple of days, and the title was 5 Things Mentally Strong People Avoid. And I really enjoyed it. It was actually from a Christian book, but I got a lot of things that I think really fit a martial arts school. So again, as we find out, running your school is just not learning the techniques to run the school, but mostly has to do with your mindset. The thoughts you're thinking create the actions you do. The actions you do create the results. Those results over time have habits, and then you're continually seeing a success because of you changed mentally. So 5 things successful people avoid. One thing is they avoid spending energy on things they can't control. So the one thing I just did this interview for this magazine. One of the things they asked me is how I start my day. And I always try to start my day. I do it through a prayer and through reading, but it's really having an attitude of gratitude. I just start with thinking about everything that's going in my life that's good, and I just want to express gratitude. Because the one thing I can control is my attitude. So I want to make sure that before I even start my day, I have that positive attitude. I know that should just be a given, but everyone knows that they're supposed to have a positive attitude, but it's something that you really have to constantly work on because things creep into your brain and all of a sudden you start thinking negative. So I can't do anything about those negative things. The only thing I can really control is my attitude. So again, I start with an attitude of gratitude. Focus on things that are good. Focus on things that are right. Focus on things that are honorable. And focus things that are worthy of praise. So I said, okay, attitude of gratitude. What does that really have to do? Yeah, well, I did make more money, so I'm going to be thankful for that. I live in a nice house. I want to be thankful for that. But there's certain things that in my mind, I just want to preset. So when I start thinking of an attitude of gratitude, I'm going to focus on things that are good. What's happening good in my life? What am I doing good for other people? What are people doing good for me that I want to be thankful for and express gratitude? Things that are going right and things that I should be doing that are right. So you should be helping other people. You should be treating people with love and respect. So those are things that are right. And things that are worthy for praise. It's like if someone was going to ask someone else about you, would they say nice things about you in return? Would they kind of praise you? Those are where you want to kind of control your energy. Those are things that you control. And so your attitude is everything. So not will attitude prevent you from having challenges, but when you do have challenge, it's going to have a lot of effect on the way you handle those challenges. Number 2 is avoid dwelling on the past. Jesse Elder was a client of mine. He ran a school in Texas. Then he ran a chain of schools here in the United States called Victory Martial Arts. Then he just got into life coaching. And one of the things he talked about was being present. I thought it was really cool because he says, okay, you're sitting right there and everything to your right is things that happened in the past. Well, they do have a certain effect on you if you start thinking, how far have I gone? So like Ricky can look back over the last 3 months and he's thinking about the past. Well, we should be thinking about something positive in the past. How far have I come in a short amount of time? That's going to set him up for the future. But since I can't do anything about changing the past, that no longer exists. If I think about everything on my left side, well, that's the future, things that are coming. A lot of people spend a lot of time on worrying about the future. So they're actually living things that aren't either may never happen, might happen, but they're not happening, so you have no control of them. So the only thing that you really have is where you're sitting right now. That's the present. This has already happened. That hasn't happened. So the only thing I can really do is think about myself in the present. So I have to be in the present. They say wherever you are, make sure you're there. So if you're doing a video like this and we're just spending a half hour on some things that you should avoid, the focus should be there. When you have students in front of you, their focus should be on that class. When your instructors hit the floor, I say that's showtime. I don't want you to think about driving into work today. I don't want you to think about the argument you had with your wife. I don't want to think about, the argument you had with your girlfriend. That's all in the past. You're not going to worry about going to the dentist tomorrow. You're here, you're teaching those students, you're 100% focused on those students, and that's in the present. So mentally strong people don't let the past define them. I've had certain things in the past that, man, I'm almost embarrassed that I did with students and treated people in the past, but that doesn't define who I am now. So when you think about yourself in the present, mentally strong people don't let the past define them. So what you did in the past, okay, that was me at that time, but that's not me now. I'm a different person. You know, Christians always talk about that, hey, I'm born again. There's a certain point where you say to God, I'm releasing everything to you, and you're born again. Well, you know, even as a martial artist, at this time where you decide to make a change in your business, okay, you're born in this minute, so you have, or this moment, so you have to be present in this moment. Another thing is when you start thinking about the past and you're viewing people, don't be conformed about what other people are doing. You got to transform yourself into a strong entrepreneur mentally by learning new business techniques. So you start thinking like a business person. Since I've done a lot of work on becoming a Christian over the last couple of years, I'm going to use that as an example for me. But this is actually from the Bible. Don't get conformed by the world. Transfer yourself by renewing your mind. If I want to start thinking more like a Christian, I had to immerse myself into Christian stuff. I had to read the Bible. I had to read devotionals. So when I defaulted my brain, what would I do in this situation? I'm not going to think the way I used to be. I'm going to think the way I am by renewing my mind. So anything you could do. I know I've already recommended a few books to Ricky. Anything by Zig Ziglar, Tom Hopkins, Malcolm Gladwell. Those are just all really good books. When you start filling your head with new thoughts and new words, that's going to be your new default from thinking. So from 6 months from now, you're not going to think like you are right now. You're going to think differently because all your references are going to change. So they say readers are leaders, learners are earners. So take that, and it's like, again, you want to change your default thinking into something new. So don't dwell on the past. Avoid giving up after failure. We hear this all the time, you know, successful people, they can get knocked down 6 times, but as long as they get up the 7th time. I'm going to give you a couple of things that I've come up, and I really don't think they are failures, but I don't really define them as failures. I kind of like really define them as a learning lesson, and that's not fluff. That's exactly what. My speaking experience. The first time I had to speak was at a convention for Educational Funding Company, and I had to speak in front of a group of martial artists. I was really good at teaching martial arts. No butterflies, no nothing. I could teach it. Well, all of a sudden I'm teaching in front of business people. Man, I got nervous. I got really nervous. I got so nervous that I'm sweating. I'm saying, I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm not going to go in the room. A friend of mine came by, Ernie Reyes, and he had a shirt on that says, if you can't, you must. If you must, you will. And for some reason, that just clicked. I said, I can't do this. So if I can't do it, I must do it. And if I must do it and I push myself, I will do it. And probably 15 to 20 minutes in my speech, I felt really, really comfortable. So was it a failure going in to speak? Well, you know, I probably didn't do that bad. You know, that's not like they kicked me out. It was a failure experience, but it was also a learning experience. My TV experience. We had a TV show in Connecticut called, I don't know, it was some afternoon TV show, and they did like local news. Chuck Norris was doing something, so they wanted to film this from a martial arts school, so they came to my martial arts school. They did an interview with me, and I just didn't know, but when you talk to a TV personality, they're like right in your face. It's not like they look like they're 3 feet away, but their face is right there. I'm coming back on my heels. I feel my legs start shaking. I hear one of my students goes, man, look at Mr. Silva, his leg's shaking. Totally freaked me out. I was like, if I had to think of a failure, that was a failure. When I showed it on, I saw it on TV, They didn't show my face. You could hear my words, but they just used pictures of the students. So I thought that was funny. 6 months later, I got invited by CNN to the, you guys, if you have CNN, you've probably seen the Lou Dobbs show. Lou Dobbs does a money show. Well, one of my students went to work for CNN. She told Lou Dobbs about my martial arts school, and CNN came down, did an interview, and they flew me up to New York. And I'm sitting in the TV station. I got Lou Dobbs. I had some professor from some university kind of analyzing my thinking, and it was great. I wasn't shaking. I wasn't nervous, but I had to have some type of experience before I got, I'm not saying that, I didn't get hired as a TV actor, but all of a sudden it changed. I didn't give up. So, I had a failure, but I made myself do it again. And it was really weird because when that TV show came on CNN, it was between Thanksgiving and New Year's, and they showed it all the time. I'd be in an airport, and I see myself on Lou Dobbs' show in an airplane. It was pretty cool. I opened a Krav Maga school in early 2000s. I opened it in Fort Lauderdale. I didn't really know my partner at the time. He contacted me about martial arts consulting. I thought he was a pretty sharp guy. He was certified by Krav Maga. I decided to open a Krav Maga school, got licensed through Krav Maga Worldwide. For my grand opening, I brought down Boz Rutan and this guy John Whitman and this guy Sam, all really strong Krav Maga fighter type guys. And I thought this school was going to fly. The instructor was a real good instructor, but I couldn't get him to embrace the business at all. We didn't do any marketing. It was a real bad partnership experience. I called up Bill Clark, who's got a whole chain of Taekwondo schools, American Taekwondo, United States. I asked him if he'd be interested in buying a location. He flew down and bought it from me. So yeah, it was a failed school, but again, it wasn't really a failure. It just taught me about jumping into a situation without really educating myself. I never taught Krav Maga. I didn't have anything to do with Krav Maga. If my partner didn't show up for work, there was no teacher. So I learned a lot about opening a business where you're not an owner that can do some of the stuff on the floor. So, I mean, a lot of people would define those as really big failures. They probably would be big failures. But until I wrote this, I really didn't define them as a failure. It was more like, okay, I'm not going to do that again. Or if I do it again, it'll be differently. So just things happen. Some things work out really good for us. Some things don't. But the important thing as we belong to business, it's not like all the way straight up. We have ups and downs just like the stock market does. And so every time we have a dip or failure, that's not saying we're just going to throw in the towel. This one was a tough one for me for a long time. Avoid resenting other people's success. When I was had a school in the 80s with Educational Funding Company, they picked their top 7 clients to be on the board of directors. Man, we were super highly competitive. Who had the most students? Who drove the nicest car? Who had the nicest Rolex watch? I mean, and all of a sudden you see, like, Steve LaValle was live at that time. When it comes to a meeting, some was bought Rolexes, some silver, some gold. He comes in with solid gold Rolex, all kinds of diamonds. I mean, and then he drove his new car too. He bought a new Porsche. So he comes in his Porsche with his Rolex and everything. This was back in the 80s when those things were really important to business owners, and not so much now. Probably free time is more important now. But it was hard not to kind of resent. Why is this guy getting all this business and not me? Until I started realizing that we live in a world of abundance and there's plenty for everyone. And for me to be successful, I really want to rejoice in other people's success. Ever since Ricky's been a client, I've been doing shout outs to him because he's just doing so well. And not that people resent him, maybe they do. I've had people just say, just tell me what you tell Ricky so I can do that stuff. I go, man, I'm telling you guys the same things, but he's really enthusiastic and he doesn't have the word no in his vocabulary. We got to do this. Okay, let me do that. And all of a sudden his attitude and enthusiasm is helping. So we don't say, man, heck with Ricky, man, just like, I'm not doing that. Well, we got to rejoice in his success. He's kind of leading the way for a lot of us. And if people say, what's the difference? I'm going to say a lot of attitude. I've talked to a lot of you guys. Are you still on the floor teaching with enthusiasm? Some of you told me no. One of the things I know about Ricky is he trains all the time. And I watched him teach a class of students yesterday on Zoom. He had like 46 people when I happened to be on. And he was on fire. He was yelling. He was motivated. That enthusiasm. So don't be resentful when someone shows that type of example. Embrace that, because we're all part of the same team, and use that as a something that can propel you, not someone that you say, well, you know, I'm going to kind of just forget about that, and then all of a sudden put you in a bad attitude. So be joyous and resentful when others succeed. Learn from others. Don't lose time pursuing your own success, because you start worrying about someone else. This one I've heard, and a lot of times I agree with it, and just as many times I don't agree it. It says, avoid worrying about pleasing others. It says, you know, sometimes we get so much into worry about pleasing others and keeping everyone happy, and we can't keep everyone happy, that it kind of slows down and ruins our success. I don't worry. So I don't worry about pleasing everyone, but I try to provide great service and have happy customers. I'm not in need of approval. So I really don't need to have someone say, hey, you're doing a great job and stuff like that, and I love you as a boss. I don't need that. I'm happy if I get it. I really try to provide great service. And I do realize at times you can't make everyone happy. I had standards at my school, and I remember I had these two kids, and the two kids, they were like entitled. They didn't want to work too hard, and they were a little bit lazy, and their mother was quite like them. So it came time to their testing. I didn't think they were ready for testing, so I got this. So I had the boys sit down, I had the mother sit down, and I go, you know, I'm looking at your boys, and they're ready to test, or they're almost ready to test for their blue belt. But I think if they got their blue belt, they would be very disappointed, because they really haven't been practicing hard. And I want them to be disappointed and not be really, really strong blue belts. So I'm sure that they would want to wait for a little while, make sure they really deserve it. If they really deserve it, they can be very proud of themselves. What do you think? And Mom goes, I think they should get their blue belts. And I go, oh boy. And she goes, what do you think, kids? The kids go, I think we should get our blue belts too. And so I said, at that point, I said, I can't please everyone. I had this other student, his mother bought patches. The patches we had, you had to sew them on the uniforms. You got a patch, you have to get a needle and thread and sew them on. She comes down and she's really, really kind of mad. She takes the patch, she throws that on the counter. She goes, I'd like my money back. I go, why? She goes, I put this patch on and it fell off. And I go, oh, ma'am, this isn't one of those iron-on patches. You actually have to sew it on. She goes, I know that, dear. I did sew it on, and it still fell off. I said, okay, here's your $3. So you can't please everyone. Don't worry about that. Try your best to please everyone. I think that's really important. But just make sure you don't need the approval of everyone. If you need the approval for everyone, it really limits yourself, because you're going to find yourself getting disappointed and losing that positive attitude you want. So yeah, do I want to please everyone? Yeah. Will I be? No. Do I need that to make me happy? No. And so I can't make everyone happy. That's fine. I realize that. Okay, so from these things that we did, so avoid spending energy on things you can't control. We talked about avoid dwelling on the past. We talked about avoid giving up after failure. We talked about avoid resenting other people's successes. And we talked about avoid worrying about pleasing others. From this list, I want you to guys think of a will do or two for the upcoming week. So, okay, what I'm going to do, what I'm willing to do this week is start my day with more positive things and make sure I have a good attitude. Things in the past that I've done that are failures still bother me, man. I still live in that. Well, I can't do anything about that because the past is gone. So what I'm going to do this week is I'm going to put that in the past. I'm going to learn from those things, but I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to stop worrying about the future. Now, I've got this plan. If all my plans work out, I'm sure I'm going to do fine. But I'm not going to worry now about paying extra taxes or doing this. I'm going to work on becoming more successful. So this is kind of like your action plan. So from these small things we just spent 20 minutes looking over, what am I going to do? Getting information is one thing. Taking action on information is another. I don't know if anyone read the book, The Question Behind the Question. I think Ricky read that recently. The question behind the question is a couple good things. It just teaches you to ask empowering questions. The whole idea is to empower yourself. So when you ask questions, it's like, what can I do to better, or how can I help you? You're not putting the blame on someone else. It's all about responsibility. So what can I do, or how can I? So you're taking responsibility, but that responsibility is followed by action. So you're developing a question, how can I make sure my students have a better experience in class next week? That'd be an empowering question. So on this will do, it's like now you have to develop an empowering question. What will I do this week to make a difference in my staff members? What will I do this week to improve my techniques for getting new students in the door? Johnny Karate. This is the United Nations call, Johnny. We got Josh in Minnesota, and we got Ricky in England. So we got like half the hemisphere right here.
Pretty good.
Pretty cool, huh?
I'm excited.
So you don't want to hear this, Johnny, because Johnny's in New York, and they're considering maybe slowing things down as far as business in New York. Ricky just went through that. He was just having the best month ever. He was grossing around $8,000 a month. Last month he did 11.5, which was remarkable, and they shut him down last Thursday. So he's going to be shut down for a month.
Right now, it's uncertain if we're going to be shut down or not. I have a feeling that it's going to happen. Usually, we copy what other people are doing, but we'll see. I think this is a good conversation because this whole week I've been worried about getting shut down, and at least there's some hope. I know at least you guys are being taken care of. Over here, they're not taking care of us. They shut us down.
You're right.
So, and it's interesting enough because I think I'm grossing about the same right now. So, and for me, that's not the best because my area is just I don't know what it's like over there. My area is very expensive and my overhead and staffing. Actually, I'm considering just budgeting again this week, and I'm figuring out now to budget a little bit better. And if things don't get shut down, at least my budget will be better and my savings will be better. But it's just I've been hoping things would go faster. And things are, I'm at I have 4 new trials this week, but they haven't said anything about a shutdown yet, but they keep saying a second wave.
Some of the schools have noticed that they've been really slowed down the last couple of weeks, but with the election and the pandemic, give it a few more days. It's like President
I can't complain. It's the beginning of the month. I'm at 6 new trials right now, so I think I'm doing better than last month already. But I'm just going to be staying positive,
Well, this is a good conversation for me too, the avoiding, because next, supposed to be either today or next Tuesday, I think it's today, the Minnesota governor is supposed to release some new restrictions on, they believe it's going to be just on restaurants to slow things down. And it's not supposed to be on martial arts schools and fitness facilities, but we'll see what happens. Right now we're already at 25% fire code capacity, so we can only have a maximum of 20 people inside the space at once in my eyes, and having a maximum of 12 students on the mat at once. So Ricky, when I heard Master Silva said you had 42 students on a class, I was like, holy.
No, that was on Zoom. Or that was on Zoom. That was on Facebook. He's got 2 floors, so he had 15 people on each floor.
Okay.
Yeah, he was in Parents Outside, so he went through the same thing. So.
Yeah, this is good for us. Good for me to remember to avoid some of those mental things, because there's so much negativity going around right now with post-election stuff, regardless of where you fall. It's so easy to get trapped in that negative mindset loop, and it's good to be able to be reminded, or once in a while smacked upside the head to say, stop that.
My 2 cents on this would be just to do your best to stay positive and look after yourself before you think about anyone else. There's so many school owners I've seen in the UK, just so much anger and negativity, and it breeds onto the social media. You can see it on the students. I seen one video the other day of I was telling Mr. Silva about a school owner said, if you're thinking about cancelling your payments if we're shut down, I want to kick you out the window. And it wasn't a joke. Like making threats to students, I've seen all sorts, just people getting really negative about the government. And you know what it is, keep your opinions to yourself, put a smile on your face, and it's not a fake smile. You've got to go and make it, look after yourself, have a good time. And one thing I've particularly focused on myself recently is just to have time away from martial arts. Have my time reading, have my time with my wife, have my time for my fitness. So I'll have my set time for the business, but then when I'm on the mat, forget about everything and have a good time. And if you're going to get shut down, I'm no expert, but the only thing I would say is make sure we send them away smiling and thinking positively about the past class they've just had with you. So when we knew we were getting shut down, we had like a week, and them classes were actually like some of the best classes I've ever taught in a long time. I just made sure we played a lot of games, done a lot of jumping kicks, just messed around a little bit, but they all had an absolute blast. Adults just sent away dripping in sweats, smiling. Made sure I stuck around a little bit afterwards to have that extra bit of chat to make sure the rapport was strong, so that I didn't think about quitting. That's my only bit of advice, is just to make sure everyone leaves happy.
All right, guys, I have another meeting today. Really glad you guys joined us. And Josh, I see you pretty soon. And Johnny, I think we see each other Thursday.
There we go.
Ricky, I see you Thursday.
Ricky, thank you. It was a pleasure meeting both of you, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
You too, guys. Take care. Thank you, Mrs. Silva. Thanks, guys.